Hello and welcome to the Hellfighters Flight School once more. Today we'll be flying a left traffic pattern and landing safely on an aircraft carrier in the Supermarine Seafire. We'll begin the pre-flight check by locking the tail wheel and extending the wings. It's worthy to note that if you are using the speed bar as a reference to your velocity, then set it to knots indicated for this aircraft. This will display the approximate velocity that the airspeed indicator is showing on the cockpit gauge. We'll continue the pre-flight check by opening the cowl flaps and starting the engine. You can also check your current heading and altitude above sea level now, because it'll be handy to know when we make our final approach to the flight deck. We can now switch on the cockpit lights to illuminate the gauges on the instrument panel. The elevator trim should be set at one increment below the centre hash mark of the elevator trim gauge. Our rudder trim needs to be set at the full right position to compensate for engine torque. We're not carrying any ordnance today, so we won't need to use the flaps to get off the deck. We're ready to depart the flight deck now, so we'll gently advance the throttle to 110%. When the RPM stabilises, release the chocks and then steer along the centre of the flight deck using careful rudder input. Pull back gently on the stick just before you reach the bow of the flight deck. We can then retract the landing gear when we've established a positive rate of climb. The red light on the instrument panel there is indicating that the landing gear is retracted and locked into position. Let's open the canopy and get some fresh air in here. Opening the canopy not only makes it nice and cool in the cockpit, but the increased drag should help with keeping the airspeed down during the final approach to the flight deck. As we buzz the escort destroyer, we'll scan the horizon to port and locate our aircraft carrier. There she is. As we fly the downwind leg of the traffic pattern, we'll climb to about 1,700 feet above sea level. We'll need some nose-up trim for the approach, so adjust the trim to the centre hash mark of the elevator trim gauge. Now, you'll have to note that the speed bar is generally not a very accurate way to display your velocity. As we turn into the base leg of the traffic pattern, scan the horizon again for our aircraft carrier. We need to keep this in sight at all times. Reduce the throttle until your airspeed is between 120 and 140 knots indicated. As we begin the left turn to final, scan the horizon again for the aircraft carrier. She should be down there to port on a 289 degree heading. Our airspeed is now low enough to safely lower the flaps of the landing gear. When you do that, don't forget to also lower the arrestor hook. The airspeed indicator for this aircraft is marked in miles per hour indicated. Now, despite the gauge being labelled in miles per hour, it is actually calibrated to knots indicated. Trim the elevators as necessary and maintain an airspeed between 100 knots and 95 knots indicated during the approach. We'll be keeping the flight deck inside the gun sight reticle as best we can. do not descend to less than 60 feet until you have the flight deck made. At the threshold of the flight deck, we'll be aiming for about 90 knots indicated. Adjust your power to decrease or increase your rate of descent. Again, we're trying to keep the flight deck inside the lower segment of the gun sight reticle as we descend. As we approach the flight deck of the aircraft carrier, try to maintain the ship's current heading while keeping it inside the gun sight reticule. Now we'll gently reduce the airspeed to about 92 knots indicated at 150 feet above sea level. I'll be aiming to land about halfway along the flight deck at about 90 knots indicated. We have the flight deck made. Cut the throttle and pull gently back on the stick. We need to flare slightly so that the arrestor hook catches a cable on the flight deck. We're down. Now raise the landing flaps and the arrestor hook. We'll kill the engine and switch off the cockpit lights. Engage the chocks. And last of all, fold the wings. I certainly hope you all got something out of this, and at the Hellfighters, we hope to see you again soon.